Speaker, for the purposes of debate only, I yield the customary 30 minutes to the gentleman from Florida, my friend Mr. Hastings, pending which I yield myself such time as I may consume. During consideration of this resolution, all time yielded is for the purposes of debate only. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks.
Without objection, so ordered. The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, on Tuesday, the Rules Committee met and reported a rule for consideration of H.R. 4483, a bill that would permanently extend and enhance the Research and Development Tax Credit. The resolution provides for a closed rule for consideration of H.R. 4486 and provides for 90 minutes of debate equally divided between the chairman and ranking member of the Committee of Ways and Means. In addition, the rule provides for a motion to recommit. Mr. Speaker, dozens of so-called temporary tax extensions expired at the end of 2013. Some of them, like the one we will consider under this rule, have long been bipartisan and long been renewed annually. As a small business owner myself, one of the things that business craves is certainty. Certainty that you can plan around. Providing a certain tax structure is important to businesses. Take, for example, the R&D tax credit for which this resolution provides consideration. The R&D tax credit has been repeatedly extended since 1981. If it doesn't make you think it's permanent, I don't know what does. Too often, we here in Washington tell businesses, trust us, that we can promise to extend X, Y, or Z tax provisions indefinitely. But they can't take that word to the bank. They can't take our word and will be able to deliver on promises that we make. The only thing they can rely on is the law itself. And if our tax laws expire every year, it injects an uncertainty into the business environment that inhibits economic growth. We all know that encouraging research and development makes good economic sense. Ernst & Young did a study that found that R&D credit increases wages in both the short and long term. Additionally, the legislation we will consider also increases research-oriented employment in both the short and the long term. Many of my friends on the other side talk about raising the minimum wage, about increasing jobs, and those are certainly worthy matters to discuss. Permanent extension of the R&D tax credit does just that. That's why both sides have routinely extended this tax credit in good times and in bad. It's time to make it part of the permanent tax code. Mr. Speakers, others have criticized this legislation because it only deals with a small portion of the expired tax provisions. However, to them I would say 2 things. Just as we've had to examine and pare back the discretionary side of the budget, we need to examine the tax side of the budget. There are over 200 tax expenditures, or spending on the tax side of the ledger, that if all expended will cost us more than $12 trillion over the next 10 years. We need to take a serious look at which credit should be extended. And secondly, this provision is the first of many that will be considered by this House. While the Senate has been content to move in a, quote, comprehensive manner, unquote, on issues like immigration and even tax extenders, the House has taken a more deliberate approach. The Ways and Means Committee has marked up 7 different extenders affecting a variety of industries that I hope the House will consider in the coming weeks. This will allow us to have a vehicle to take the conference with the Senate to provide individuals and businesses with the certainty that they so desperately crave. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend Chairman Camp for beginning this process in earnest and look forward to consideration of additional measures at the appropriate time. Many of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle have supported extension of the R&D credit because they've seen the value of making this provision permanent. I urge support of the rule and the underlying legislation, and I reserve the balance of my time.